Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 35. I'm Enigmius and today we're in a different place on our base. We've got a couple of flak turrets here because I did some things that I wasn't planning on doing, and we're going to take a look at them today so that we can resume the process of dominating this planet in the next episode. I had some problems with our small vessel. Specifically, we had some railguns on it that seemed like they should do some decent damage at a decent range, but they were extremely difficult to aim just because of the mechanics, the way everything comes together. So I decided to try and solve that problem, and this is what I came up with. Before we get started, this is the front of the ship, and this is obviously then the back. It's classified as a small vessel, even though it's a little bit on the larger side. It's a pretty gaudy paint job and a very busy hull design, but we may have solved the problem of weapons that are difficult to aim. Now, I actually took some footage of the building process, which I think would be more helpful to look at than what we've got here, because there's just so much going on. If you take a look at what's going on here, we basically assembled the weapons in a cluster, basically in a square-shaped cluster with one block in between them all. And then we put a one of the open cockpits, the ones we could just place the cockpit and build around it. We don't have to worry about it having the glass and all the other things that might get in the way. And then we built the windows in between the weapons so that as you're looking through it, you're actually looking through the center window, and then the other windows add a little bit of extra visibility because the guns themselves block off a big chunk of the areas that you would otherwise be able to see through. But you're sitting in the middle of the guns now, so if you're looking through the cockpit view, you're looking through basically the center of that spread pattern where the guns would hit when you shoot them. Now, we're not accounting for fall off in this because it's pretty much impossible to build a dynamic structure that you get the idea. It's a lot easier in concept to aim like this because you're sitting in the middle of the guns instead of having the guns beneath you or above you and getting all the spacing and then the fall off and all that other stuff. So that's the idea, and I'm not going to BS you. I haven't had a chance to test it yet. I literally just finished the last details on this the minute before I started recording, but we will take a look at it in the next episode specifically. You know, even if we're just chasing around arachnids on the surface of the planet and shooting them up as best we can. Today we're just looking at basically the design, the way everything is laid out, and also how it interfaces with our capital vessel. And then I've got a secret surprise for you at the end of the video that you probably never saw coming. So that's basically what I did. Is I built this thing, and I realized as I was building it that it seemed like it was flames just because of the way the angles were coming together. So that's why it's oranges and yellows, and in certain spots bright reds. Just goofing around a little bit. So we've got this cockpit. We've got 63 thrusters on all the different sides of this guy. Now, again, you know, speaking in all fairness, this cluster of thrusters up here was a last-minute addition because I forgot to put reverse thrusters on this ship. And it was kind of a pain in the butt trying to find spaces for those thrusters in the existing hull. So I put this pod of 5 up top, and they're basically just sort of braking thrusters and short-term reverse thrusters. We don't spend a lot of time flying around in reverse, so we don't need a ton of them, as long as we can kind of slow ourselves down when we're flying forward and realize we don't want to be flying forward anymore. You get the idea. I have this tendency in this game to overdo the lighting around the exterior of some of these ships, and the more lighting you add, the more demanding it becomes. And things tend to get pretty laggy, so we don't have a lot of running lights. We do have a spotlight on the front and then spotlights to the left and right. You can actually barely see the light pattern for the front spotlight here. There's the right spotlight, just to help with visibility at night. And then the entrance is from here, from the back of the ship, and we've got it all textured and painted inside. The reason why you can see these orange squares is because these are actually parts of the thrusters, and we painted the thrusters orange so they match what's going on outside, and then the whole thruster becomes painted that color, and that's why you see the little bit sticking through, is because that's part of the thruster visible from the inside. We've got a lot of fuel tanks because we've got a lot of thrusters, and these I haven't even had a chance to fill yet. These are basically this cluster here, and this guy here on its side, and this guy here, just brand new, just put in when I realized how much extra fuel I needed. And then we've got, of course, oxygen tanks so that we can top up our oxygen out in the field. Even if we didn't bring our capital vessel, we've got containers for miscellaneous things, plus containers for ammunition, a constructor in case we need to build things, simple things, out in the field, and more containers, refrigerators. So, I mean, it's well equipped for a small vessel. It can do pretty much everything we might want a small vessel to do out in the field. It's only got the 4 railguns, and then from here, this is the control seat. When we hop in, I'm still trying to deal with that top section. It's not cooperating with me. I'm trying to get it so that it's not blocking. You should be able to see just glass all the way to the top of the screen, but I have to kind of adjust the structure. But you can see now what I'm talking about. You're looking through the middle window. The crosshairs are in the middle window, and then the glass extending top to bottom and side to side is just that little bit of extra visibility in between the guns, so that if your target isn't dead center where the crosshairs are, you can find it a little bit easier. That's the concept. Now, actually, I should hop back in here. Change the view. We will turn on the thrusters. I could have sworn. Look at that, 63 thrusters in the group. And then we can come up here, and you'll notice that I changed the back end of this guy. I was trying to get it done with the shutter doors, and they weren't having any of that. There's just no way. So I switched it to the hangar doors, which are a little bit more difficult to work with. But when you approach with the ship, they open, and then we've got plenty of room to slide this guy into the back of our capital vessel, and it's easy enough as well to slide it back out again when we need to leave. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do as well, was make sure that the dimensions would support the size of the hangar for the capital vessel. And so we'll be able to load it in there when we go to other planets, doing other things, and bring our little small ship with us. Turn these guys off to save fuel. So that's the small ship that we built. And like I say, next episode you'll probably see it in action, even if it means we're just kind of goofing around, flying around shooting at things on the ground if we don't have anything else to shoot at. I haven't even got a name for it yet. It's like it's on fire, and it's got railguns, and it's bigger than the average small ship. Who knows? We'll come up with something. Now, the other thing that I wanted to look at today was something that I realized, and I feel very confident that I'm definitely not the first person to come up with this idea, but I can see it becoming a thriving mini game for Empyrion, because I showed you the last episode very briefly, and as always at night, the motorcycles that were just added as part of their anniversary patch, 1 year since the game launched in early access, I think is what the anniversary was for. And they gave us the motorcycles, and there was a blurb in the patch notes that suggested that this is just the base model, that as things progress there will be opportunities to upgrade it and get better bikes and all these other things. And I realized it might be really, really neat if you had a motorcycle, if you had a jump, that you could take the motorcycle down and then off. And in this case, it happens to be perfect that we're landing in water, so we don't. I don't know what the mechanics are for the motorcycle, whether you would survive if you took a huge jump onto solid land. But in this case, we've got water. So I built this whole frame because this is concrete and it's very heavy, and even if it wasn't concrete and very heavy, you would still need to support a jump of this size. So we've got this frame in the back that allows us to specifically do that. And one thing that I have to do, I wanted to show you guys that I did actually try this with a more aggressive angle coming off the jump, but it's too aggressive for right now with the motorcycle that we have. It doesn't have enough power. So we're going to change this. We're going to get rid of that guy. And I didn't bring any other concrete. So for the sake of just getting this done, we're going to use a hardened steel block. and then we're going to rotate it around and rotate it around. So that's going to be the angle of attack. And now we'll just kind of scoot out over here. I tried it with a more aggressive down angle as well coming up, and that also didn't seem to work. You kind of catch air if you get a little bit too aggressive with the down angle, and then it kind of defeats the purpose. So in this case, it's a relatively soft slope, and then it comes up to a relatively soft launch. And let's see what happens when you do it with a motorcycle, because that's kind of the point. So we've got our motorcycle, and we've got it lined up right about there. That's pretty good. I actually built this. You can see it's kind of the rounded thing coming towards the ramp, so that if you were on the motorcycle approaching it, you could just sort of drive into it and go like that. Too much of a hassle. It's just so much easier to place the bike facing down. Hop on. Change the angle a little bit so we can sort of see what's happening. It's not the most exciting thing I've ever done, but if you can imagine having a faster bike with maybe some other characteristics as well, it could become sort of a thing that was a little bit more fun. And if you had it extra fast with plenty of good traction and all those other things that you would need, you could probably make some really elaborate sort of track designs. And then when you're bored building ships or fighting guys in structures and doing all those other things, you just drive around in your motorcycle in the track that you've made, maybe attached to your base, maybe out in the middle of nowhere. Who knows? But that's something. It didn't take a hell of a long time to put together, but it was just something that I was working on, and I decided to share with you guys because it seems, at least on the surface, like it could be kind of fun. The key here is also making sure that you can get back onto your base from the water without having to swim all the way to shore. So that's what I've been working on for the last couple days. I'm basically out of things to do to waste time at my base at this specific moment in time. So next episode, I promise you, we'll be taking our capital vessel with our small ship inside out to a bunch of structures. We're going to take out their turrets. We're going to pass through them with our guns to shoot all the things inside and take all of the loot. And if you want to be notified about that in future videos, you can subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.